Hi, I'm doing Paul McWhorter's Pico W lessons and I'm up to lesson number 104 when Paul wanted us to toggle LEDs with buttons using the state machine, not using Python or MicroPython at all, apart from just to set up the state machines. So my build actually looks slightly better than normal. And that's because I'm using the trick of bending one of the legs on each button out, and that means you can plug them straight into the live rail, as opposed to normally you have to make them jump over the gap and you're using up more of the board as well, and it doesn't look as nice. Now this means I could have had two more buttons there and there plugged into that live rail, but I didn't have any. But the logic allows me to have up to 6 buttons. I've got my 6 LEDs. That's about it, I think. Right, look at the program. The main kind of MicroPython bit. Now that looks horrendous, horrendously complicated, but all I'm doing is I'm setting up the state machines. So I'm setting up the button handler on state machine 0, and then I'm setting up the LED state machines on 1, 2 and 3. And the reason why I'm doing it like that, appending it to an array, is so that things are easier later on. And if I've got more than 3 buttons, I set up state machine 4, which is on PIO block 1, to be the button handler as well, and then adding as many LEDs, and it happens to be 1 in this case. And the reason why I wanted it in that array is so that at the end I can just turn them off easily. Right, to the main guts of it. Now this is what Paul did, haven't changed it, apart from, as opposed to in the weight, it's 0 there, I put in rel 0, which is relative to the state machine, so it knows exactly who's meant to be answering the interrupt. Main button handler, I put the states of the first 3 buttons, doing, 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 into the ISR, move it to X, and then just check there to see if any button has been pressed, and if it hasn't, it goes doink back. Then I move the reverse of X into the OSR, and this means that I can then read 1 bit at a time, so that the first time it's the state of that button, and then the second time it's the state of that button, etc, etc. And so it says put it in X. If it hasn't been pressed, check the next button. Otherwise you do this IRQ block 1 for the first button, 2 for the second button, 3 for the third button. All very simple there. But what I wanted to do was to be able to put it in a loop, so using the Y register, then I could go, if Y is 1 there, then I could do IRQ block Y. No, it didn't work. It didn't work. That would have been so good, because I would have just had that bit in a loop, as opposed to the lame copying. But I think you could do it in C. The way round it would be to actually have a look at that decorator, the ASM PIO decorator, and amend it, but I didn't want to do that. So after I've finished checking all the buttons, I just go down here and I wait for all 3 buttons to not be pressed, and those delays of 31 seem to help the debouncing thing, and then it just goes back. So we will just try running this program. Oh, before I press a button I need to press that. Right, red button, red LED, green, yellow, yellow off, blue, green off, red. Sometimes if you press two buttons at once they both come on, sometimes they don't, and that is just depending if they really come down when you're checking. No, that time it didn't, but that one did and that one didn't, but it doesn't matter. And now you can just go Control C, they all go off, and it says state machines deactivated. So that's my